Alright, good morning. I'm thinking maybe to make a new series looking at headlines, like on Vusis other websites that talk about the news. Does anyone think that might be something interesting? I'm trying to find the niche that gets the views. I remember sometime about a year ago, more than a year ago, there was a video I made talking about John Kerry in Israel, and that got, I don't know, like over 7,000, close to 8,000 views. Now I made a series of 5 videos about the Netflix documentary One of Us, and the first video of that series got about 3,000 views. For me, that's a lot of views. I know for some people it isn't. Still 3,000 views is only like $3, but whatever, it is what it is. You get about, I think it's a penny for every 10 views. But I make a lot of videos, so it adds up over time. Even if I'm not doing anything else now, so I might as well make a video. So I was looking at the headlines on Vusis. There was one that kind of caught my eye. I read the article about there was a debate of three men running for city council in New York City to represent the Borough Park area. I only heard about 2 of them. I didn't know there was a third. But so you learn something new. And the headline was that basically all 3 of them were on the same boat as far as this organization called Yafed. Now, I've made videos before about Yafed, and my feelings about this organization are as follows. We have freedom of religion in this country. There was a case, I don't know if it was tried yet. I think it's maybe even heading to the Supreme Court, of a group of a family in Texas. They were homeschooling their kids, and all they did all day was play Christian music. They didn't learn math, they didn't learn reading, writing, anything, let alone science or history. They just had their band and they're playing music all day. That's what I assume is a form of worship for them. And that was the claim, that they weren't teaching them anything. And the question is, do the parents have the right to do this? And I personally think they do. Although really these shouldn't be state issues, they shouldn't be federal issues in any sense. But now do I think the parents are doing the right thing? No, but they should be free to do what they believe. It's their family, their children, and they can do what they believe is right. I don't see issue there, personally. Even if I personally disagree with how they're raising their kids personally, I think they have the right. That's how I feel about these issues. I mean, I'm totally fine with the education my daughters are getting in the Hasidic schools, and my sons, they'll get their religious teachings, what they need, in some English, and we can supplement at home with the rest of the English, and I think that's fine for me, and because I do want my boys to complete high school, to get either a GED or a Regents diploma. What I probably would do is, if they're motivated to do that, and it's what they want to do, there might be peer pressure from their friends, I don't know, but my hope would be, they'll get their religious studies in yeshiva, and at home we'll work with them, to do the Regents tests, and they should be proficient enough they could take the tests, and we could give them a Regents diploma, homeschooled basically, and I would be happy if they would go to Touro or even to YU, really. I would kind of prefer it, no matter what they want to do in life, whether they want to be balabatim, then for sure it's useful to have a college degree, if it's not too expensive. And if they want to be rabbanim, being in the world and serving people, I think it's important to have an education. But that's me personally, but I respect and honor that other people don't have that approach. And I certainly don't believe that the government should, by fiat, be imposing these types of things, shoving them down the throats of people and violating their religious freedoms by forcing them to accept things that go against their religion, because the worst part of it is that it's a slippery slope. Because if they start with this, then it's going to turn to, as we've seen in other countries, they're going to force, sex education, they're going to force other things that go against the religious values of and the sex education. It's not like when I was a kid, we had I went to public school until 9th grade, so I remember a little bit of sex education. I remember they did teach us, how to put on a condom, things like that, as well as parts of the biology and things. And these are really types of things that should be taught at home, if they're taught at all. And each parent can decide on their own, And I remember on The Simpsons, they was talking about like a 4th grade class, and they had, Fuzzy Bunny's Guide to you know what, and first there was like 2 very religious Christian students, and they're like, their parents, asked that, they should be excused from class and go pray for our souls. And then after this whole thing, which part of it was a Jewish wedding, they were Jewish bunny rabbits, and apparently they showed something there, the kids were like, ew, and whatever. And then you had Troy McClure at the end, who's, that's a big loss, Phil Hartman. We're still feeling the loss of Phil Hartman. He's like, now that you know what to do, don't do it. Like, the thing is, these days, I guess it's harder and harder to shelter children, but we could try. I don't know, it's a very it's a very difficult thing. But these type of things absolutely should not be mandated by the schools. And then there are other things, that seems like, then it becomes like issues of homosexuality and transgender issues, and like I don't understand why these things have to be taught to little kids at all. Like what? Why should they even be mentioned in a school at all? Like I don't understand. Now, if you want to open your own private school that for the LGBT community and have these type of curriculums in a private school, and you have a secular private school or a liberal private school or whatever, if you want to teach that just like we want to teach religious classes, all right, that's a different thing. But I don't know about this whole thing with the school. It's a slippery slope, and it could lead to. It seems to me that the goal of groups like Yafed is really to close down yeshivas altogether, or dramatically transform what the yeshivas teach and what they do. And so that's and that's very troubling to me, because if you have a goal, let's say you have a goal, you feel that the Hasidic boys yeshivas don't teach enough secular studies, and you want to change that. My idea, there's someone in Eretz Yisrael, in Beitar, I think, he opened something he called the Hasidic Academy, the Michlala Hasidit. He's a Satmar Ingerman, and he's gotten some threats over it, but it's a small school, I think like 25 boys, where it's a Hasidic school, but they teach a strong secular education in the school. So you'll open something like that, you try to attract people, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of people. You cannot force everybody to have a school like that. There are people, it's in the time the old Satmarav, he insisted that there should be English in his schools and that the legal requirements should be met. And some parents said, well, no, we don't want English, we want a much more strict, like they have in Mei Sharim, Yerushalmi type of school. And he said, if you want that, you go to another school, go wherever, Krasna, whatever, I don't know which schools had like that. But you want that, you make a school like that. You go to a different school. You don't have to go to my school. I'm not trying to be the school for everybody. I'm trying to fit a certain niche. Now, a lot of people say, well, Satmar, they're the worst when it comes to the schools. But the fact of the matter is, Satmar, they meet all the legal requirements, in a very basic way, and a heavily edited, a heavily censored way, but they do meet the legal requirements of the state. And it's ironic that people talk about Lubavitch, they're so modern. But Lubavitch, not all of their schools, like I taught in Monsey and Cheder Chabad, and there they did have, to a certain grade, English. But Lubavitch, many of the schools in Crown Heights don't have any English. All the classes are taught in English, but they don't have any secular studies. It's all learning. So Chabad there is much. Like I told this to a Lubavitcher who wanted his son to go to learn, secular studies, get his GED, maybe go to college, whatever. And this boy, Baruch Hashem, he left Chabad, he became a normal Ben Yeshiva, but and his father is also much more mainstream, but you know, like I told him that Bobov has a full English program and that they get Regents diplomas. He didn't believe me, but that's the truth, you know. And if the Bobover model, I mean, were adopted by other Hasidic schools, that would be great. I mean, the thing with Bobov, the only issue, I mean, I would send my boys to Bobov, to, you know, but like, first of all, I don't want to move to Borough Park, and I'm not a Bobover, you know. So I mean, I love Bobov, you know. So, I mean, I'm not a Satmar either, but Satmar, they take, even if you're not a Satmar, they'll take your kids, you know. But Bobov, I'm pretty sure you have to be a Bobover Chassid to go to Bobov Yeshiva. So, and I don't know, I think that they have gone maybe a little bit more to the right recently, I'm not sure, but you know, originally that was the Bobover approach, and I think that's a very healthy, normal approach. But I think even Yafed and these groups want to change even like the Bobover approach. Like in Bobov, you basically get what you would get in the literature school. I think really Yafed, they want to really even attack the literature schools. They want to attack everybody. But you know, if people do want something like this, so you create a school like this where you know, where you but there has to be people who want it, and it seems like there are people who want it, and so, you know, the idea would probably be to have it not affiliated with a particular Rebbe, to have a totally independent Hasidic school, or if it's some little Rebbe who doesn't have a lot of Hasidim, you know, but his, you know, he's known that he has a good school and it becomes popular and people, you know, start sending to that school. And I think that's the approach that, you know, we really need to have, not to have the government force anything, meaning if people want to be, you know, total extremists, so then and have no English, they should have just as much right. And the people who want to find something in between, you know, where you have the Hasidische, you know, Geschmack and with a you know, more English and stuff, kind of like literature style English. They should have that as well. I mean, there are other schools that do it, you know. I mean, that's the thing, like some people, you know, everybody has their own thing, you know. Some people have more you know, everybody should be able to do what they want. I mean, that's my approach, really, is that, you know, a more libertarian idea. So and the thing is like everybody should just be able to follow what they want, you know. So, what do you think about that? I looked at some other headlines. There was a horrible story in Borough Park of an old Israeli guy, not old, but like the age of my Zayda, who passed away 20 years ago, that age. Man in his 70s who was roughed up by police in Borough Park for a traffic ticket, something. It's a pretty scary story. And I read that article too. I don't know all the facts about it, so I don't really have much to comment on it. I saw Bernie Sanders said that New York City mayor is the antidote for the meanness of Donald Trump. The mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, in many ways, sociologically speaking, are peas in the pod. Even socially speaking, it's only some, they have some differences in their politics to a certain extent, but they're really two sides of the same coin. They're really coming both out of the same. Their popularity both comes from the same place sociologically and psychologically. Even though Bernie is a total phony about it, because he makes it like he's this outsider, where he's been in politics his whole life, so as opposed to Donald Trump. Also, it's kind of phony to say he's an outsider, even though he never held an elected position, but he's always been part of politics. But in a certain way, the thing with Donald Trump is that he learned all the abuse and he's like fixing it, and I definitely don't think Bill de Blasio is the answer, to all of this stuff. I mean, just the opposite. I mean, it's kind of, it is related to these other two issues in a way. The question is, who has the power in America, the people or the government? And Bill de Blasio, Bernie Sanders, all of them want the government to have power. And then the power gets abused, like this story, this, this type of stuff. And then you have, have these other things, like you have the other approaches, and that's the approach of Yafed. That's my real issue with Yafed, is that they're going along with this Bill de Blasio type approach. I mean, Bill de Blasio is enough of a politician that he knows he can't fight this battle. I mean, he's been out of character with the frum community, and my feeling with all these things is that whatever the frum community wants for themselves, we should want for everybody. Meaning, if we could have a village of New Square, village of Curious Joel, and now a town of Palm Tree, why can't the Baptists have it? Why can't Muslims, the Sikhs, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Catholics, why can't everybody have their own town and village if they want? I mean, essentially, you do have things like that, and you do have certain neighborhoods and certain towns that have, it's the same thing. Like, you have like in Michigan, big Muslim towns and things like that. And there is this one place like up near Roscoe, I think, or near Nepaza. I don't remember where it is. It's Islamberg, but it's not an incorporated village. I think once they get like 500 people, they'll probably incorporate it as a village. That's what's needed to incorporate a village is 500 people. I think they have about 300 people now. Men, women, and children. Though, they'll probably have 500 soon. They'll probably, form their own village. And why not? I don't have a problem with that. So. It's the same thing. Like people, the one like in Mawa, the story with the Eruv, there was one guy, he was like, I don't understand, I try to get a permit, this and that, and I have to go through all these hoops, and how are they able to get this done? And that's not fair, and I agree it's not fair, and it should be free for everybody. Whatever freedoms we have should be, we shouldn't hoard our freedoms. I've said many times that the Hasidic community is like the canary in the coal mine of religious freedom and libertarian freedoms. But it only is if we're fighting for everybody else, which we got to do. We've got to make coalitions politically, with other groups, other faith groups, particularly when we have similar goals. We should be working together, like in New York with the Catholic Church. Absolutely, and they have come to our aid for certain things, so we should reciprocate that when they're in need, and we should find common goals that we can work on together. So these are the type of things we should learn about, think about, talk about. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. And what else do you think? What some other things in the news? What else can we talk about? There's this story with Paul Manafort. I think the biggest thing we should notice about Paul Manafort is that his dealings were not with Russia; they were with Ukraine, and Ukraine and Russia have been fighting. So this has nothing to do with Putin. It's just the opposite. That should be well recognized and should really be something we strongly remember, and a lot of people just think, Russia and Ukraine are the same thing, but they're not. Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union, but it isn't anymore. So, if anything, this Paul Manafort arrest, indictment should really clear up that there is no issues, Alright. This has not been a very good video. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe.